Make this vigorous attack in the vision of the anointed that we should no longer listen to these people. That's sort of the debate. They've been wrong. They don't prove their points. It's hurt us. Who should we listen to?
We should listen first and foremost to our own experience. You seem to act as if there must be alternative saviors. We should stop looking for saviors. I mean, the society has not existed for thousands of years because it had a succession of saviors. It's existed because it has institutions and processes through which people can realize their own goals.
No, I understand that, but you are attacking people who would like to lead us and tell us how the world works.
No, they don't want to tell us how the world works. They want to take over the decision for us.
What's going on, everyone? It's Dr. Kenny. We'd be reacting to a video from Thomas Sowell, The Vision of the Woke. He'll have this discussion with, his name was Ben Waterberg, I believe. I guess he used to work with Larry B. Johnson. So, hey, let's take a look at the conversation, and I'll give my thoughts as usual throughout the video.
Well, it's a vision that the problems that we see in the world are due to the fact that other people are just not as bright or as compassionate as they are. And that there are all these solutions out there waiting to be discovered, and that they have them. And that these solutions are to be imposed upon the rest of us by the power of government, through taxation or in other ways. And what's really crucial about it is that their passion is so much greater than the passion on the other side, largely because what they have involved is more.
Yeah, before Thomas Sowell goes in, that man, you can see in 1995 he predicted all this, and still the case even today in 2023. Like, these people have this vision of how the world's supposed to work, what the real problems in the communities are, right? Black people think it's racism, that's why they're falling behind compared to everyone else, when it's really just them making bad decisions as a group. But they don't want to focus on that. That sounds boring. That sounds like, what? That's the only reason? No, it has to. It has to be something else, right? And this is what he's talking about, right? They more go, hey, let's try to find something to prove our worldview right, and then we'll just run with that. But hey, I don't want to talk too long. I just want to learn as much as you guys on this stuff.
Who is the they?
Oh, the media elite, the academic elite, political elites. And the reason we can talk about their vision, even though they obviously vary in their opinions, is that the basic set of underlying assumptions about the world are very similar. And because these assumptions are the prevailing assumptions, the need to find evidence for them or to offer proof is much less. If something happens, they'll explain it in a way which will fit that vision. For example, when they find that prenatal care is less among blacks than among whites, and that infant mortality rates are higher, they immediately assume this is because of society's neglect, and therefore if only the government will step in and provide more prenatal care, that problem solves itself.
Bruh. And this is, I think this is where, I guess, wokies or people of the woke left or the progressive left, this is where they get it wrong. They go out, right? It almost seems like they try to find stats to prove an assumption that they have, instead of letting the stats prove them a result, and then they try to find the root cause. Okay, why did this outcome happen, right? Instead they go, oh, it looks surface level, it looked like, oh my God, half the population is black, but they only represent 13% of the population. It must be because of racism. No, it can't be that it just so happened that black men commit more crimes than everyone else. No, that can't be it. That's too boring. There's no way that's the case. It has to be this. And this is the problem we have. And then the fact they feel so passionate about it, they think just because they're so passionate about this problem means they're more right than you. Bruh.
It doesn't matter how it makes you feel.
I don't care about how strongly someone feels about something. If they have no proof, they have no evidence, they have no example they can give me, I can't believe you. I'm sorry.
Nope.
I can't. But let's get back into the video.
But in reality, other groups have even less prenatal care than blacks and don't have any more infant mortality than whites. But they don't ever get to that second stage, because once they've seen something that fits their conception of how the world works, that's sort of the end of it.
Let me go back to that idea of who the they is.
So you got the New York Times, the Washington Post, Harvard, Stanford, all the usual suspects. I think that when people say things like, More American wives are battered on Super Bowl Sunday, you see, than any other time of the year. And there's not a speck of evidence for that. That is calculated. Because there is no data that could even be misinterpreted that way. In other words, because there is no data, period.
It doesn't make sense.
I love how real Thomas was, bro. He just like, nah, like that. There's no way you can even misunderstand the data to say that claim, to make that claim. And the point is, I always find it like weird that people make all these assertions and all these claims, and they don't have much to back it up, or they don't have really much proof to back up their statement. Usually, it's just they make a claim, and it's almost like they're assuming that it's true, and then you have to come in and offer proof of why that is not the case. When I believe if you're gonna make an assertion, at least give an example or give the basis of why you end up in that conclusion.
Bruh.
But you don't notice that. You don't really see that. But yeah, I digress. Let's get back to vid.
And so, yes, but I think that 99% of the people who believe it are not calculating.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of the reasons that it flies without even being challenged for evidence is that there is a certain vision of how the world is, and in that world, men are oppressing women, and therefore, when you say something like this, it fits the vision, and that's the end of it. There's no demand for evidence. There's a four-stage pattern, and in the first stage is what I call the crisis, and so we're hyped to believe that something is a terrible crisis for which something must be done. What was fascinating to me in doing the research for the book is that very often the thing that's said to be in crisis has often been getting better for years on end, but that gets ignored. Then the second stage is,
for example, infant mortality, to use one of the
well,
things
I'm thinking about teenage pregnancy and venereal disease. Those things were getting better. Teenage pregnancy was going down for more than a decade before sex education was introduced. Venereal disease, syphilis in 1960s had only half the incidence that it had in 1950. So all these things are going down, yet we're said to need sex education to deal with this crisis, which is then manufactured. And again, this is where the calculated part comes in. Now, 99% of the people who hear this don't know that. But the reason they accept it is because they also share the same vision. And because this is consonant with that vision, they don't have to ask for evidence.
All right, so what's stage two?
So, I guess this is a 3-step process. They make a claim. Oh, black women need welfare. We need to give these women welfare. 27%, I believe, around, like, I think it was even earlier in the 80s. Black women, like, that's the amount of single motherhood they have in the house. And then they push it so much on you. They market it to you. They say, hey, here's child support. Not child support. Here's welfare. You'll need welfare. Right? It's going to help them come out of poverty. I remember there was a video where Thomas Sowell was debating against this white liberal lady. I'll say she's white liberal because she was pushing for welfare. And Thomas Sowell's argument was, hey, this is going to incentivize more single motherhood. And she's like, no, this is only supposed to just help people come out and then they're going to get off. Did that happen in 2023, people? And then once he's proven right, they're going to move the goalposts and say, oh, no. It's not that simple. It can't be that simple, right? It would have been worse if we didn't intervene, bruh. I don't know how they know that without any evidence without any shred of proof. But that's how they walk and expect. They expect, oh, if you don't believe my premise, you're an evil person. Instead of you being skeptical and just wanting evidence and proof. But hey, I digress. Let's get back into it.
That stage two is
The first one is there's a crisis.
Yes.
They establish a crisis, usually an artificial one.
Yes.
Okay.
Then stage two is the solution. You have a solution for this crisis. In this case, you have sex education in the schools. And then at that point, you say, if we do this, this will lead to beneficial result A. The critics say, no, it'll lead to detrimental result Z. Stage three, you put it in the results, you put it in, and directly you find detrimental result Z.
Yo, this is I don't know. I think this is what the conservatives' main critique of the left is, that when the conservatives have it right, the left doesn't want to acknowledge when the conservatives have it right. Right? When they were talking about, hey, don't teach sex education because then other weirdos going to come into the school system and try to teach other stuff, like abuse the system. They go, no, that's not going to happen. Now you got people out here, some schools and some school districts. I think there's some in Florida too. I remember it's not in my county, but it was in another county somewhere. They were teaching very sexually explicit stuff, right? And I use a very general term. And again, I don't care if it's straight, homo, trans. I don't care. Like, no one was going to teach my kid any sexual anything. This is why majority of people in Florida, at least, agreed with the parental rights and education bill. Just don't say gay bill. I don't know what y'all talking about. It don't exist. But yeah, I digress. Let's get back into the video.
Namely, venereal disease and teenage pregnancy take off into the stratosphere. And then stage 4 is the fascinating part, in which they simply say, no, that doesn't prove that this was a bad policy, because there are many factors. There's complexity. It's simplistic to blame it on this. But they run through this routine on so many different things, including crime. Similarly, they said, in 1960, Judge Bazelon said we just desperately need to have some kind of change in the criminal justice system. Now, in 1960, there were fewer murders than there had been in 1950, 1940, or 1930. But again, that was completely ignored. And so now we have the revolution in the criminal justice system. People say, no, if you have to put these new things in, there'll be more crime than before. They put them in. Almost instantly, the declining crime rate turns around and heads up again. And they say, no, it's simplistic to blame this on this.
I don't understand. It seems like, is this history repeating itself again? Because it seems like, I don't know if it's just an American problem or a politics problem, but it seems like when people give a counter argument, if the people who are currently in power have the leverage and power, they'll still go ahead and do their vision anyway, without even considering the critiques from the other side, or they try to downplay the critiques of the other side and just want to continue because they're like, no, this has to be the solution. I have to. And then when they finally get their way, they go parade. They're like, oh my God, it's the best thing ever. And then 5-10 years, that finds out to be the cause of some new issue for future generations. Like, I don't understand. I don't understand how we can keep running as a country like this. And I love Thomas Sowell. It's a shame that during Black History Month or like anything like that, you don't hear much about Black conservatives in Black History Month. I noticed that.
Nope.
You hear about everyone. The only closest thing to a conservative that I heard in Black History Month is the Booker T. Washington. But it's a shame that we don't know much about Thomas Sowell. Like, it's crazy. Like, he said, yo, look at all the bad policies he predicted in the future that's negatively affecting Black folks now. Bruh, you don't think that person's worth knowing about, at least in Black History Month? But hey, I digress, man. Let's continue.
There are the root causes and the neglect of society and all the rest of it. So it's heads I win, tails you lose.
You think the increase in venereal disease was caused by sex education?
I don't have to even say that. I don't even have to believe that. All I have to say is
do you?
Oh, I think it's hard to explain otherwise. I mean, you don't get social changes that drastic in a few years without some particular cause. But the argument doesn't depend on that at all. The point is, they created the crisis artificially. The evidence shows there was no crisis, but they would not even subject it to any empirical test. If they want to show some other factor came in and really caused this, I'm happy to hear that.
Now, why would a group of liberal intellectuals or politicians or media stars or whatever, why would they sit around and decide to dismember or dilute the criminal justice system if they thought in advance that it would raise the amount of criminality?
Oh, they didn't think that, but the point is,
they just thought wrongly that it would help.
Yes, but it would also give them an enormously larger role than they had before. I mean, a judge who just sits there and applies the laws that have been passed by the legislature has a very minor role. But if he takes the expansive judicial activist role, then of course he's on the leading edge. Similarly with the war on poverty, you can show how dependency on government was going down, poverty was going down before this program was ever put in. And within a few years, dependence on government was going up. And after a few more years, the absolute number of people in poverty was going up.
And that's what welfare did. This is what most government programs do. They're saying, hey, we're helping people, and then when they're able to get themselves back on their feet, they'll leave the system voluntarily. that goes against every human incentive structure that I know so far. I know if you incentivize two choices with humans, because humans, it's hard to really override incentive like that unless you have some higher principle that you abide by. But let's go by circular logic here, is that only you matter and you're only going to do best for you. If you put two incentive structures saying, hey, one incentive is stay with the government and I give you these benefits. One incentive structure is do for self and you have control of your life, but you're in a situation where you won't get a job that gives you more than the benefits. The benefits, I think the average benefits in social programs like 55K. So if you're not making at least that, it won't be worth working for yourself, right? Most people who are on welfare or all these social programs or unemployment, they can't quickly get a job that makes that amount, that same amount of money. But the minute they make like around 30K, 40K a year, they'll lose their welfare benefits. So does that sound like something that's incentivizing you to be less dependent on the government or more dependent on the government? Because you're sitting there saying, if I'm not doing anything, I'm getting all this money, I might as well stay dependent on the government as long as I can. That's how most people think.
Bruh.
So to sit here and say, oh, we're just going to give this money and people are going to do the right thing. Like, conservatives understand one thing about human nature is that we are flawed. If someone can take advantage of the system, they will, right? And this is why conservatives are more willing to be like, oh, we got to put restrictions, we got to put time limits on this stuff. So that way it's not an option. It's like, yo, nah, like you only got 4 years on this stuff. You better figure out after 4 years because we're not helping you anymore. That's how more of conservative think. And some people might find this harsh, but what's more harsh? You help somebody and make them dependent on you, or you help somebody and they're able to help and go off on their own with and they no longer need you. Which one sounds more compassionate to you? But yeah, I digress. Let's get back into it.
This was sold to the country not on the grounds that if you transferred money from A to B, that B would have more money. That was not the argument. The argument was that dependency would be reduced. This will then, you give them job training and all those kinds of things, parenting skills, the whole bit. And this will then be an investment that will pay off in the future because there'll be fewer people dependent upon the government than there were before. And I go through a great number of people from John F. Kennedy to Lyndon Johnson, the New York Times, again, all the usual suspects. The first order of business is to evade the criterion that they themselves set up when they set this out. And so no matter what happens, if it's a failure by the original criterion, then we just find another criterion by which it will be a success.
A lot of the things that came out of the Great Society, I mean, building all those junior colleges and community colleges.
Oh, I would disagree entirely. I think that was a tragedy of the first magnitude.
That was a tragedy.
Oh my God, man. I hope I think experts nowadays in our day and age in 2023, they'll never talk like this. Bring out any stats or data that goes against the woke narrative, they'll come out and cancel you. Let's continue with the video.
Yes.
Why is that a tragedy?
You have millions of people who have absolutely no desire for an education, using up billions of dollars of the taxpayers' money, and not only not getting an education themselves, making it more difficult to give an education to those people who came to college with an idea of getting one.
And before I continue, that makes sense because most people who go to college, they don't graduate. I mean, you can live it up to ability, maybe they didn't want to, but it proves his point that we're wasting a lot of money on a result where I forgot the average graduation rate for most colleges was 40%, I think. 40% of the people who enter graduate. Like that's a waste of money if they're not really taking it to completion, right? I don't know. That's just what I'm thinking. You let me know what your thoughts are.
You say they have no desire for education. I mean, nobody is herding them into these community colleges and into the junior colleges and into the state university. I mean, they have a desire, obviously.
No, they do not, obviously, because lots of things go on in those places that are not education. I mean, where else can you find so many young people of the same age and opposite sex in one place? A nice, convenient place to be. But anyone who is taught in a lot of these places, this ferocious desire for education as such is not terribly visible.
And before we go to the next cut, in college, in high school, it's almost this pressure, like almost felt like a society pressure to go to college. So most people who go to college, they know, I don't know what I want to do, but I'm putting myself in a large amount of debt, trying to figure out what I'm trying to do. Like, in my view, a college degree is a means to an end. It's not some experience you're supposed to go to. Like, if it was up to me, College wouldn't have no sports teams. College wouldn't have anything fun in it. It will all be purely about education. No distractions. Hey, you come here to learn. You come here to be a contributing adult in society. You're here to learn a valuable skill, whatever it is. The fact that colleges have all this other stuff, to me, college comes more across as a business than an educational institution. Because they have all the sports programs. Look what they invest in. And when you go to any college tour, pay attention to what they say. They don't say, "Oh, this is the best school here. We're ranked here." Maybe they'll say that, but when they go on the tour, what they expect you to catch your eye on? Oh, look at this library. You imagine yourself studying here. We got state of the art. They got a jacuzzi bar. They got all this. They talk about the amenities of the colleges more than they actually talk about the educational benefit your child will receive. I've been to college. I've seen it. I experienced it firsthand. Oh, the reputation, the kids like, oh, is it a party school? Is it not? And then this is how I think this is what's contributing to the low graduation rate as well, is that college has all these amenities and they end up being distractions for the students, right? Now, if you're a disciplined student, this stuff won't matter to you anyway. But how many kids you can say at, 19, 18 years old, that's really that disciplined? Not a lot. But hey, I digress. Let's get back into the video.
We've set up a society where you have to be credentialed with a certain amount of college, so aren't they able to get a better job?
No,
because
this
of their
is the
credentials?
fallacy of composition. If one person stands up in the stadium, he sees the game better. But if they all stand up, they don't all see the game better. As long as if you have a degree and the other guy doesn't, then you get ahead of him in the employment line. But we're not going to all get ahead of each other in the employment line by all getting degrees.
We have to get more people into the.
If everyone has a degree, you can't really stand out. And that's the problem in 2023 today. And I think men are starting to notice this too, because men are going to college less and less. And now it's at the point that majority of student loan debt are owned by women. Because I think men sees this. Men can see it and like, this is not really helping me. There's other ways I can get the result that I want. I want to make 80K, but I don't like that debt that student loans come with. Oh, okay. Let me go through the trade schools. But how many women will take that route? No, because they want to go with what's societally popular to do, and that's to go to college. And I think this is why the first time there was a stat coming out that feminists was happy about that. There was more women in med school than men, and they were celebrating that stuff. And then I thought you guys were about equality.
It doesn't make sense.
But hey, to me, feminism uses equality as a pretense for more privilege, more power, more rights than men. That's their real goal, right? Because they're only worried about women. They're not really worried about being equal to someone else. They just want, hey, I want women to have more. That's their quote. I want women to have more. Hey, you guys are graduating college at a higher rate. I want women to have more. You guys have a majority of the student loan debt. I want women to have more. Like it's just a big L. And then when men say, hey, I don't believe feminism is about equality, they're gonna go look at you like,
How dare you?
and you're like, look at the proof. Look at all the men. Men are disproportionately homeless. You're not trying to make that situation better. There's so much women's shelters in the world. How many men's shelters do you know of? We rest our case. Let's get back into the video.
The education system, because that's the way to compete, and we look at the data and we see that the people with more education are earning more money than ever before relative to the people with less education. That's all a fallacy of everybody standing up in the stadium.
People who fly on the Concorde, kids who've flown on the Concorde undoubtedly will make more money than kids who've only gone on buses. That does not mean if we put a lot of people on the Concorde, we're going to raise the national income.
Damn. And look at this is 1995. I wasn't even born yet. I was born in 96. This is a year before I was born. My mom just immigrated to America in 1995. He's talking about this. Look how far seeing he is. Look at the current state in 2023. Kids graduate college. You be like, they're lucky to find a job. Now they got 6-figure in debt for a thing that was supposed to guarantee them a better economic outcome, but now that same thing is now giving them making them economically detrimental to their lives. Right? They go in with a debt that's capable to a mortgage without the job. And 1995, you're like, oh, this is a good thing. They're gonna make more money, whatever. It backs up Thomas Sowell's claim. This is why whatever comes out of Thomas Sowell's mouth, at my eyes, is like gospel, bro. Bruh. Because He saw it. 1995, he saw this. And we're going through it now. He said, yo, if we give everyone a degree, it ain't going to help no one's outcome. Was he right or was he right? I don't understand why we don't know much about this man. Crazy, bro. It's like he's like Malcolm X. Malcolm X called out how media is the most dangerous entity in the world. They can make the innocent guilty and the guilty innocent. Those are the kind of people I listen to. I go back in history and I say, oh, what were the claims in the history to justify what we do today as common knowledge? Oh, it's common knowledge. Everyone should go to college. Who set that idea in our heads and why? And this proves why. The government want to feel needed, so they're like, hey, everyone deserves the education.
Nope.
And then they go, oh, here's federal student loan debt. And then colleges realize, well, no matter how much we charge, the government's going to give this kid a loan to pay it. Increase prices. Come on. I know y'all see the game, but I digress. Let's continue.
You can't blame the crime rate on the fact that there's more poverty. There's less poverty. There's more affluence. It's not due to foreigners because, as you say, we've won the Cold War. All the normal things that you might blame all this on aren't there. It's not because of diseases, because science has conquered more diseases. It's all because of self-inflicted wounds. And I'm saying these are the people who inflicted those wounds, and this is why we shouldn't listen to them anymore.
What are the nature of those wounds?
Crime.
No.
The disintegration of the family.
Yep.
The disintegration of the educational system.
Yep.
And those, and it's not going to matter. We'll be like the man who gained the whole world and lost his soul.
Is there a common root to all of those?
That is a good analogy. Like you finally got that vision, and then you look, it caused all this destruction. It's ridiculous, man. To sit here and not realize. I think it's because people can't accept that it could be that simple. Okay, we destroyed the family. Oh, it doesn't matter. We could no. The nuclear family was there for a reason. When in the 1920s and even during slavery, during Jim Crow, during races, when America was at its most racist, the black family stayed together and they were able to deal with it and respond to it and still thrive, right? Created Black Wall Street and all this stuff to the point where these people had to go and destroy their stuff because they realized, oh, these people are making it out on their own. We can't have that now. We can't have these black people thinking they don't need us. And that's the whole point that Thomas Sowell is trying to make, is that it's self-inflicted wounds. Black people decided to accept welfare. Black people decided to vote this party in, and they keep pushing these policies that inadvertently hurt their future generations. Black people are making those decisions. And then when you get people like me that says, hey, do for self. Hey, let's start making better decisions. Hey, if you made these mistakes, teach the future generations not to make these same mistakes. You get called the Uncle Tom sellout, Uncle Tom, whatever name they got for you, and then hit you with the,
How dare you?
and then you get disassociated. Oh, you ain't black. Your blackness gets questioned. When if there are real pro-blacks, they'll hear your argument and be like, I even know if I don't agree with you, my brother, you see it a different way than I do. That's it. But no, we don't have that in the black community.
It doesn't make sense.
To me, most pro-blacks come off to me as pro-Democrat, and they just commingled the two. Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson, and them. But hey, I digress. Let's wrap this up.
All of those problems.
It's the notion that ordinary people cannot be trusted to make the decisions that they've been making, but these must be preempted either by judges in the case of crime, by the schools taking over the indoctrination of other people's children behind their back and against their protests.
CRT, gender studies, trends, what's your pronouns. You see it all today. And then these people in 1995 was like, oh, that's not going to happen. You know, typical liberal logic. It ain't going to happen.
Or what was the other one? The family. Taking money from the taxpayers and subsidizing behavior, as well as encouraging it and legitimizing behavior that has turned out to be enormously self-destructive, undermining the family in 1,000 different ways.
Ooh.
You make this vigorous attack in the vision of the Anointed that we should no longer listen to these people. That's sort of the debate. They've been wrong. They don't prove their points. It's hurt us. Who should we listen to?
We should listen first and foremost to our own experience. You seem to act as if there must be alternative saviors. we should stop looking for saviors. I mean, the society has not existed for thousands of years because it had a succession of saviors. It's existed because it has institutions and processes through which people can realize their own goals.
No, I understand that, but you are attacking people who would like to lead us and tell us how the world works.
No, they don't want to tell us how the world works. They want to take over the decision for us. They don't tell the parents how they ought to teach sex education to their children. They put this material in the schools behind the backs of the parents with instructions not to let the parents see it.
Ooh, shout out to Liberty Pen for showing this videos. And what Thomas Sowell's point was, it encapsulate what the black conservative is. Do for self, right? There ain't no one's gonna save you. Donald Trump ain't gonna save you. Ronald Reagan ain't gonna save you, right? Obama ain't gonna save you. Joe Biden ain't gonna save you. You could save you. That's it. Because at the end of the day, these problems matter to you, and you're the best person to deal and fix those problems. In the black community, prime example, we fix the family, a lot of these issues will go away. Married couples, more resilient to poverty than single parent households. Done. But the policies that the Democrats put out, and because that is a Democratic policy, war on poverty, made you more poor. They put these policies in place and incentivize you to make a certain choice. Have a single parent household instead of a 2-parent household. Because the average income in the black community, for black women is like 34. All I know is it's higher than the black men. The black man is like 30K. That's the average income for a black man. So together, the average black married couple makes about 60K. Government benefits give you 55K. You're like, oh, I could do this by myself. And this is where you get I don't need no man. But hey, I digress. Let me know your thoughts in the comment sections. I want to hear what you guys think. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.